There's about not much more difficult emotionally to deal with in a divorce than like a woman in her 50s whose husband's cheated on her and is leaving her for some other gal. And she raised his kids, and now his kids are gone, and she's really screwed. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Those women often have a very hard time. But in general, I created to talk about exactly this, the My Confident Divorce framework. And it is a 4-step process that I have people go through to get ready before they ever file. And it's based on all the things I wish I would have done, basically. So the first thing they're going to do is start with the end in mind. And what that means is you can't know what path to take if you don't know where you're going, right? A ship without a compass gets lost at sea. So you got to get real clear on where are we headed so that you can take steps to get you there. So many people are just like, I need to get divorced, like me. I need to get divorced. Like, okay, well, what does that need to look like? What resources? What do you want with the kids? And they have no idea.
Today, we are going to talk about a very important subject in menopause that often doesn't get addressed enough and should be, and that is relationships, specifically separation and divorce. My next guest is Hannah Hembree Bell. She is an award-winning Austin family law attorney, a mom of 4, and the founder and CEO of one of the fastest growing family law firms in the United States, Hembree Bell Law. And after losing custody and financial ground in her own divorce, she rebuilt with strategy, won a far better outcome, and turned those lessons into My Confident Divorce, a national community helping women prepare wisely. And in preparation for this podcast, to prepare wisely, I did some snooping around and took a look at the research in menopause and divorce rates. And although there isn't a ton of peer-reviewed research that links menopause directly to divorce in a way that's fully proven, there is growing evidence, discussion, and survey data suggesting a significant correlation. And so here are some of those key references. First of all, Family Law Menopause Project. A survey that was done in collaboration with the Newson Health Research and Education found that 73% of women said that menopause and perimenopause was a contributing factor to their divorce. In that same survey, 67% of respondents said menopause increased arguments and even domestic abuse. The data also suggests that many women didn't feel comfortable even raising menopause with their family lawyer. 86% didn't feel at ease talking about it, and 97% said their lawyer didn't explore how menopause may have affected the relationship. The Stowe Family Law Commentary did a report called Menopause, a Divorce Danger Zone. And in that report, they found 60% of divorces are initiated by women between the ages of 40 and 60, which, yes, overlaps strongly with the perimenopause and menopause years. And in particular, divorce peaks for women in the age gap of 45 to 49. They frame menopause as a potential catalyst due to such things as changes in libido, mood, communication breakdowns, and the identity shifts that are commonly associated with menopause. A health and quality of life study using data from the Women's Health Initiative, the WHI, looked at postmenopausal women between the ages of 50 and 79 and found some interesting associations. Women who divorced or separated in this period tended to lose weight, improve diet, and increase physical activity compared to those who stayed married. And in a recent feature article, it described a growing midlife divorce trend, sometimes called the gray divorce, with more divorces happening among adults age 50 and over. And the article also suggests that menopause can be a catalyst for deeper questioning of long-term marriages. That same piece also notes that many of these decisions are not impulsive. Women may spend upwards of 5, even 10 years considering divorce before even taking action. So is it correlation or causation? Most of the data is survey-based, meaning it's about women's perception rather than longitudinal causal proof that menopause causes divorce. Divorce in midlife often happens in a broader context. Empty nest, career plateau or burnout, caregiving stress, aging parents. So menopause is likely one of the several contributing factors, but may not be the single factor. And there's a lack of legal awareness. Many of these surveys highlight a gap in how well family law professionals understand and incorporate menopause symptoms into divorce proceedings. And this gap will be filled from Hannah Hembree Bell, who's going to tell us about how to prepare and feel empowered during such a tumultuous transition in our lives. She will also help us understand building clarity and confidence through strategic planning if divorce is on the horizon, and also will unpack some of the common mistakes women make during the divorce process. It's all about empowerment through preparation, boundaries, and self-respect. Sounds like a theme that we often go through when we are preparing ourselves to have those difficult conversations with our bosses and most certainly our doctors. Taking agency, disrupting the status quo, changing the narrative. This is what the show is all about. I can't wait to unpack it with Hannah Hembree Bell. Please join me in welcoming her to the show. Hannah Hembree Bell, welcome to the Menopause Disruptive podcast. And we're going to talk about something that disrupts our marriage, and that is menopause.
Right.
Background.
Yeah, which is it? I think it's both and.
Marriage is getting in the way of having a really good menopause here.
It might.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. You have built one of the fastest growing family law firms in the United States. But your path came from a deeply personal experience. So can you unpack for our listeners your backstory of how you turned your divorce into something, a completely different approach to help other women with a smart strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me, Mary. And
Mhm.
probably my second favorite thing to discuss, if you just like by sheer numerosity of things I discuss, would be sort of menopause, middle age women stuff. I swear it's everywhere, like between that's after divorce. And so I'm so excited about this conversation. And
Me
the
too.
way I always have been my whole life is I really learn through experience. If you've done any of those personality assessments and stuff, I am one of those people who has to kind of go through it myself. And for me, I got married super duper young. I was engaged and married by the time I was 21 years old,
Oh,
and
wow.
started having kids at 23. And then by the time my kids were 15, 18, and then 15 months apart. So I had these tiny little babies when I was still a baby, 23 years old. I laugh because my daughter is like not that far from that old now. And like, this is how old I was when I
Wow.
brought you home from the hospital. So maybe you could give me a little more patience, over the years when maybe I didn't get things right. And so anyway, I just hadn't grown up, and I grew up while I was growing up babies. And I moved from college back into my home with my parents for a quick second while I got married that summer, and then into a house with my then husband, now, ex-husband. And really going into marriage, like so many women that I've helped, kind of hoped it would work out okay. Not a lot of, I think I put the amount of thought, energy into it, honestly, back then. I describe it as like if you went by a PetSmart and there was like a free giveaway, a cat situation happening outside, and you're like, that's a really cute cat. I think I'll have a cat now. And then just take it home. And then it gets home and you're like, what am I going to do with this cat? It's scratching stuff. Now what? And I think for me, that's kind of the amount of really foresight. And it just shows a little bit because I was just a kid. And so what had started happening was I had all of these little ones, and then it was very survival based, especially women in their 20s having kids, or even, in their 30s having kids. When they're little, you're in survival years. You're just like, I only slept 3.2 hours across 8 last night. I'm not worried about how I'm feeling romantically in this relationship with this fella who sometimes sleep next to me when I'm not upstairs with the baby, right? So, I was just surviving that. And I knew even then something wasn't right. About 6 months into the marriage, I remember stopping my mom in that little house and saying, Mom, I think I've made a terrible mistake. And it was a thought and an awareness, but I wasn't ready to do anything yet. There was a lot that was going to come before then. So I ended up being married about 9 years. And it's really, I think, a common experience, sort of death by 1,000 paper cuts, where things just build and build and build. Now, I didn't wait till menopause for my give a dang to get busted, as I say. But I think it was a similar experience for me, and also an awakening and a growing up that happened. And what really was the linchpin, the turning point, was when I went back to law school. I had been a recruiter before I went to law school and didn't love my job. I wanted to love my job. I'm a very purpose-driven person and wanted to feel that way. And so I went back to law school, and then I was out of this little bubble that I'd been in with my ex-husband. And we lived in this little bitty town, and I really didn't have that many friends anymore. I was pretty isolated, working, kidding, and that's it. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to law school, and I'm around all new people and whole different ways of thinking. I really didn't start to grow up as an individual woman until then, when I was turning 30 years old when this was happening, when I was going back to school. And for the first time, I got to be just an adult, not a mom. I just went to school, and they called me the mom, right? That mom. Sometimes they said hot mom. I'll take it. And people were just different to me than I was treated at home. And this gap and this discrepancy started to grow and grow and grow until it was sort of unignorable anymore. Like, wait a minute, who I am when I'm at home and who he says that I am or acts like I am, and who I am at school and who they act like I am and who they say I am are different. Both can't be true. And you know what? I think he's wrong. Who these people see me as and how I can show up here really aligns with my self-concept now that I'm aware and can think. And as that started to happen, my eyes started to open to everything that was happening in my life. And when I was turning 30 years old, I was scrolling through Facebook. I'm using my finger like, it's a mouse. Like we used to have desktop computers, We didn't just do it on our phone. And scrolling through the Facebook when I was turning 30 and looking at every single picture. And, it looks like, just look at those I have the cutest kids in the whole planet. Look at those cutest kids you've ever seen. And it looked kind of perfect, except I knew in every single photo, like what was really going on, how I was feeling, what argument had preceded it, what was the deal. And I remember just thinking to myself, dang, when is my real life going to start? Like, what is this? When is my real life going to start? Like I was in a dress rehearsal, right? Or it was going to happen later. And I heard this almost audible voice, like God, universe, Buddha, Jesus, whatever it is you think, whatever that was, my own inner self, higher self, was, Hannah, this is your real life. This it? And it's like, in that moment, I swear every moment since has stacked on top of that moment, because it really hit me like, this is it. There's no later. Later is a lie, I've learned now. And I only get one shot at being alive. This is it. I'm not even looking forward to anything anymore. I had done the thought experiment, right? Of like, so I'm going to work real hard. I'm going to be a lawyer. Okay. And I'm going to get a good job. Okay. And then I'm going to make decent money. Okay. And then I'm going to work a long time. And then one day I'm going to retire. Okay. And then what am I going to do? And I'm like, I'm just going to be like sitting around at a beach with him more. Ugh. And so I had sort of already theoretically done this experiment and written off the rest of my life. And I was like, no. That is not how this is going to go. And there was other moments along the way, like different kind of beats that happened, but it was really that crack in the matrix of my life that I was like, not for me. And fast forward, I went into my divorce about the same amount of thought, to be honest, as I put into going into married. There's a theme here. I come from, I joke, a long line of rash, decisive people. My parents got married after knowing each other 11 days. And were married over 40 years when my dad passed away. So that part of me was like, okay, once I realized it and really knew, kind of a few months later when I was really getting clear to me I had to do this, then it came upon me pretty quickly. But the deal was I was completely unprepared for what was about to happen to me and I was about to go through. In some ways, thank God I didn't know. Thank God I didn't know everything that there was, because I don't know that I could have gone through with it if I'd have known what all was going to happen. But because of that lack of preparedness or strategy or resource, everything, in every sense of the word, I was behind the eight ball. I got backed into painted myself. I painted myself into a corner and ended up taking a settlement outside of court where my kids didn't live with me primarily at first. I knew that if I had to go through a big whole court battle, number one, I didn't have the money for all those fees. How was I going to
Oh
pay
gosh.
$100,000 for a divorce? We owned some rental properties and I had that recruiting business. And like, well, and I was an emotional wreck. I was drained. I was weighed about 100 pounds. I mean, I was just like a mess, a kind of a mess emotionally,
Oh
and it really
gosh.
give it all I had to the divorce decision, not
Mm.
to the rest as so many women do. So I ended up, there's a whole long story, but I ended up not having my kids primarily with me at first. I paid child support. So I've sat on that side of the fence and really resigned myself and settled into, or tried to settle into, my plan B, option B life, like Sheryl Sandberg talks about in that book. But I was going to be the best version of that. I was going to show up to every parenting time. I was going to do all the things, show up to their school stuff, even though I was living an hour and 20 minutes away. And the thing was, that didn't stick for long because my kids were not doing the best. And I ended up filing a divorce or a custody modification, like post divorce judgment, depending on where people live, what they call it. Like you go back, and then had a pretty long, lengthy court situation trying to change the custody of the kids. And it ended up in Texas, we do a jury trial, which is where, your peers sit and watch and decide who should be the primary parent.
That's
So,
awful.
yeah, I did that. I would not wish it on anybody. And that was 7 days, and the kids did. They relocated and moved with me, and then I was a primary parent, and then he paid me child support and all that. And then it's just been quite the journey. There's a whole bunch more since. It's not over. I have one of my kids is in college now. Two are still minors. We're high school age, so we're close. But it's just I wasn't prepared going into the marriage or getting out of the marriage. Now, when I went for the custody modification, I'd learned my lesson, right? Remember, I have to live it. I didn't get the lesson the first time going into the marriage, but I learned the lesson the second time because I got licked. I licked myself, I got beat myself, but I shifted and had a strategy and a plan and knew a lot more and went in carefully and with a strategy and had a much different result. And that's ultimately why I do what I do, because I think a lot of women find themselves in the shoes I was in. They put all their energy into deciding that they've got to do this because no, women don't want to get divorced. We do not want to get divorced when we got kids. And only do it when we really feel like that's all there is. So I went and used that experience as the catalyst for, how we sit here talking today.
Absolutely. As they say, the saying goes, our mess is our message. The
Mm,
lived experience helps us understand, if we've gone through it and it was hard for us, wouldn't it be great if we could just make it easier for the next person? And
yeah.
that's exactly what you've done. I do
Hmm.
want to go through that quite extensively, but just in general, with your experience and now probably with the clients you are working with, what is the first step in terms of identifying, not the strategy, but identifying, like you did? I've been in this for way too long. I'm giving up a piece of who I am. I'm not respecting who I am. Giving, giving, and giving. It's time to live my life on my terms. What is one of the first things that women can do to say, okay, I've been toiling with this? And actually, some of the research says they might toil with the idea for over 10 years, 5 to 10 years. That's a long
Yeah.
time to be ruminating over a huge life decision.
Yeah.
When can they get clear with it? And they've emotionally and mentally said, all right, it's time to march on and make this decision.
I would say this is a perfect time to break for a word from our sponsors. Guess what? You, my listeners, are my sponsors. That's right. I would love it if you could support the show. Helping me will help bring these amazing episodes to you each and every week, just packed full of information to help you on your menopause journey. And to support the show, all you have to do is go into the show notes and click just above where you read Meet Your Host. In green is Support the Show. You click on the button and it'll bring you to a page where you have the option to donate monthly, 3, 5, 8, 10. You can be a loyal supporter for as long as you want with recurring fee as little as $3 a month and opt out at any time. Each investment goes directly back into producing episodes with even better content, improved audio quality, and will go a long way in bringing great guests onto the show.
I've got that question a lot. And the best way I know to explain it is I think of things as simple as possible. Really, it's sort of a T chart or a weighing. I've got two hands, pretend like it's the scale of justice here. And it's like, okay, you've got on one hand the cost of leaving. What's it going to cost you to leave? They're all the reasons why you've stayed put, the effect on the kids, the house. What are we going to do about the bills? It's only one income, on the one hand. And on the other hand, there's the cost of staying. Okay. And you've got the experience of home, walking on eggshells, not looking forward to anything anymore, not happy, plot ruiner. We all deserve to have a happy life. Like, we are worthy because we exist. That's what I say all the time. And you don't feel happy in your marriage. You don't feel excited about anything anymore. You don't have, all these reasons that are the costs of staying, but you're willing to do it because for a while, the costs of leaving, right, are above the cost of staying. But then as that scale tips and the cost of staying exceeds the cost of leaving, that's when it's time to go. That's when that's every decision you've ever made. Elizabeth Gilbert talks about every change that ever happened, started with some woman getting tired of her own BS. I don't know if we say cuss words on here, but whatever.
We like cuss words.
Okay. I almost can't talk without it anymore. So, some woman getting sick and tired of her own bullshit. And so when that happens, that's when it's time to go. And it's a deeply personal decision. So for me, it was that moment that really just crystallized. I was unhappy. I was, looking up now, and even my people who've known me a long time, who knew me then and know me now, it's pretty mind blowing that me and my ex-husband were married to each other. It is a wild fact. Knowing now how we turned out when we were cooked, 10, 15, 20 years later after we met. Wow. And when you start coming into that awareness, and for me, they talk about change happening slowly, and then sometimes real change happens all at once. We've all heard that story, just like, I am done. I will no longer ever again pick up that drink, pick up that cigarette, do whatever that thing is, right? And, it can kind of go either way. For me, there's this moment when I have decided, that line in the sand. And it's reaching their line in the sand. And maybe they have we all have one, right? There is some reservation point. We call it in mediation, a reservation point, that the point we will not cross. We all have an internal reservation point. And you may not know what yours is until you butt up against it. You'll know then, because you ain't going. And then it's like, that's it. Like, pretty much every woman has that moment when they were like, that's it, enough. And I think, some people lose track because gaslighting, and gaslighting it just gets so much play these days and can get overblown. I don't even want to, you don't even have to be thinking about gaslighting, but just, you forget. It's like selective amnesia, where they're being, nice today. And if you're my personality type, I'm an Enneagram 7. I don't know if that resonates with any of your people, but I'm an Enneagram 7. So we see the good in things, and we're positive, and we're looking. So as soon as, things are better now, everything's fine. They would apologize and whatever, and you're ready to move on. And you forget all the BS that just happened. So one tool that women can use who feel a little bit in this purgatory. And I'd seen that. I'd love to, if you share that study with me, Mary, I'd seen that quote somewhere talking about women taking years versus men taking months. That, I don't know if that's the same study. And if you feel like you're just trapped in that, one thing you might do, I'm a very practical person, is start you a note in your phone and call it grocery list, and put some groceries at the top in case he's going through your phone. And then at the bottom, start tracking with the newest thing first, the things, the feelings, the emotions, so that you have a record. And when he's apologizing and being nice, you can say, wait a minute. Where are the patterns? Now we live in the greatest time in history to be alive, because we have ChatGPT, which is amazing. You can feed it to ChatGPT and say, here's a new thing. Put it to the log. Remind me, help me discover patterns, help me process through this emotionally. And like helping keep yourself accountable to yourself. Nobody else has to look at
Oh,
it, nobody else has to see it. But can you have self leadership?
mm,
And maybe you don't know what that means. And maybe you're not there yet. And maybe you're not ready. That's okay. Like, don't get stuck in that. But just be honest with yourself and keep track on what's happening. I think that would be a very important tool in making that decision.
yeah. Powerful, Hannah. Wow. You know, that BS meter that you spoke of, we don't take no bullshit when the estrogen has left the body as well. And
Mm,
that is why I think that there is some interesting facts that correlate those ages of high divorce rate amongst midlife women. It's, you know, the 40s to 50 with
hmm
45 to 49. And I'll share that as well. It being that when divorce is filed, because that BS meter, it goes off and estrogen, which is probably masking, protecting, suddenly that says no longer, I'm going to tolerate that. And it's the same kind of leadership, self leadership that you speak of that we need to take when we have to advocate for our health, whether it's those conversations in the workplace or with our doctor too. Nuh-uh, I'm not taking any of that because
hmm
my self-worth deserves more. And divorce is just another aspect. So causation, correlation, there's some interesting studies out there. But let's talk about now, especially for the listeners who are in that midlife category, that age group, when they are going through to transition and they're butting up against this new emotional realization, even a mental realization, spiritual, physical, that the
hmm
relationship they're in is not serving them well and lowering their self-worth. So
hmm
I'm sure you probably are working with clients in that age category. Let's
Sure.
talk about that. Let's talk about now your plan.
Yeah. Well, in that age range, I think you're right. It's like we are just, it's so many things converging as a woman, right? Our bodies are changing, our hormones are changing. Perhaps we figured out how to get financially stable a bit by now. Not everybody, but that might be something that's a little bit more resolved. You just been a lot of us been putting up with some BS for a long time, and you just get tired. There's like, you're tired. And then eventually you're like, not one more GD time is he going to say that to me. Like, who do you think you're talking to? And it's like this. I'm thrilled for that for women, and especially just the conversations that are happening around this to bring it more to the forefront. You're not being a bitch. You're just stopping making everything easier for everybody all the time. And that's a lesson. I'm 42. So this is a lesson I am in the middle of right now. Just no, it's not that I'm being awful. It's just that I'm no longer over functioning to support your comfort at the expense of my truth and authenticity. I mean, that's something I have to try to do every day with all of my personality components. It is the battle for me. But, if you're there and you've done this tracking and you've met, or you can see your reservation point. You can see that give a dang busting, the dam. You're there. It's within earshot, you're close. I think the thing to start to do is be like a duck, calm on the surface and paddling like hell underneath to get ready.
Okay.
Because, hope is not a strategy with this. And if you, like we said, if you're in your 40s, 50s, you may have accumulated some assets. You may have some stuff now. Your kids
Mm-hmm.
at this age may very well be teens, preteens. Some of them may have littles, but you have different kind of considerations as your kids age. And what we want to do is start to get prepared before we tip him. And I'm assuming mostly heterosexual couples, but I think it would be the same for her. Like we work with all kinds of people at the firm. So with the spouse, and you don't want to tip them off either, because 70% of divorces are filed by women. So normally we're in the driver's seat. And
Wow.
normally we have the
Okay.
benefit of knowing when it's coming. It's not even about who files first. It's about the benefit of, I'm not even advocating for surprise. Hopefully divorce is not a surprise. It often is, because men are like, this came out of nowhere. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Women do not get divorced out of nowhere. Like you said, they've been thinking about this for 10 years. You just hadn't been listening. You just only take her seriously now that she's actually packed your shit and set it on the porch. So
Mm-hmm.
the thing to do though is to get a plan in place without them
Okay.
knowing. And so, like, I mean, that is, if anybody listening, just like gather all the things you think you might need to gather to get divorced. And I mean, there's an order to the way we talk about it. Like in case people stop listening at any point, that's what you're going to do is gather up the paperwork, gather up your evidence, and get your shit together before it's too late. And they know, and then you're chasing your tail throughout the rest of your divorce and the case whenever they know. Because it depends. So many things depend on the level of conflict, which it just depends. I don't think conflict is any stranger to the to the age. I don't think that conflict is less when you're in your 40s and your 50s. I mean, sometimes, but sometimes not. Sometimes, whoo, it can be real bad. Like there's about not much more difficult emotionally to deal with in a divorce than like a woman in her 50s whose husband's cheated on her and is leaving her for some other gal. And she raised his kids and now his kids are gone and she's really screwed. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Those women often have a very hard time. But in general, I created to talk about exactly this, the My Confident Divorce framework. And it is a 4-step process that I have people go through to get ready before they ever file. And it's based on all the things I wish I would have done, basically. So the first thing they're going to do is start with the end in mind. And what that means is you can't know what path to take if you don't know where you're going, right? A ship without a compass gets lost at sea. So you got to get real clear on where are we headed so that you can take steps to get you there. So many people are just like, I need to get divorced, like me. I need to get divorced. Like, okay, well, what does that need to look like? What resources? What do you want with the kids? And they have no idea. So that's the first thing we do in the course. The second thing we do, craft your all but done plan. Now, this is a thing, it seems like a throwaway deal. I've just seen it screw so many people over that they don't have a go plan in place, meaning you've got everything all but done. Like it's not done. You're not pulling any triggers yet, but you could if you need to. So like, okay, here's how I would tell the kids. Here's how I'm going to pay my rent. Here's how I'm going to make sure the mortgage is met. This is what's going to happen with the kids at after school. He normally picks them up. I want to have him primarily, right? So you get this plan in place so that you're not like me getting caught flat-footed when he figures out you're trying to leave him. And you have no plan in place, and he accosts you and confronts you about, hey, you're acting different. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And you cave and tell him I'm divorcing you before you have all your eggs and ducks in a row. That's what happened to me. I wasn't ready, and I'm just an honest, forthright person. So you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you an answer. And I wasn't ready. So it's getting that together. How are you going to tell them, et cetera? Then the third thing we're going to do is become Parent of the Year and be able to prove it. This is for my parents, especially of like, let's say, kind of preteens and down age kids, where what you're going to, a lot of times women, that man, they miss this. They do get blindsided by this. The court is not going to just give you primary of the kids and never let your husband see them again just because you're their mom and he's kind of an asshole. Just plot ruiner. That's not going to do it. And especially in the US and especially in Texas where I live, like, you know, Mary, in Vancouver and Austin, in Texas, the way custody is dealt with in divorces is probably significantly different. I would have to venture to guess. But in general, in the US anyway, the Constitution protects the right to parent. And so like these dads are not going to get cut off from these kids' lives. And in fact, like in Texas, there's a policy of the state that kids have ongoing continuous relationships with both parents. So you're not cutting them out. Even if they did some bad stuff, the court's going to probably give them a chance to repair and move forward. So there's that fact. So I think what that does is gives them this heightened confidence that they shouldn't have, because you have to think about, how is my life going to appear when it's under a microscope? When people who don't know me are analyzing it, when they don't have any of the context, how is it going to come across to a bunch of neutral people who don't care how my life turns out? Well, are you traveling all the time for work because you're a badass at work, but you're in a season of not at home? Are you an accountant and you're thinking you might file for a divorce in April? Well, I mean, we file in April our income taxes. Like when you've been for the last 3 months working 14 hours a day, that's not the moment. Okay. So like looking at the way your life circumstances would come across in court because of your interpersonal division of labor in your home, how is that setting you up if someone looks at it from the outside? If he's Mr. Dad, you call him a deadbeat loser who sleeps on the couch and drinks beers all day. He's going to call himself a stay-at-home dad who gets the kids from school, drops them off, does their, you see? So
Yeah.
you got to make sure because that one's the most important for moms of these smaller children. Because a lot of it you cannot fix once you filed, once you start. A lot of these other ones we can deal with later, but you can't because you don't have time. You don't have the benefit of time on your side. So you need to really, really get that one handled. And then the final thing you're going to do is create your divorce notebook. And that's gathering all the paperwork, all the evidence and things you might need while you still have access. Because another thing that happens in my experience is once divorce is filed, what do you know? Those tax returns ran off. What do you know? No longer all the account passwords are changed. And then you spend thousands of dollars and months of time trying to get access to what you already have now. Now, this is where I always caution because people might feel the temptation to go collect it all today. If you're like a, scratch the itch kind of person, like, I got to go do it right now. Do not do that. Because if all of a sudden a bunch of 2FAs are going, two-factor authentications are going to his phone, he's going to figure you out. And then you won't have the benefit of time anymore. So you got to slow and methodically and steadily gather that stuff. And in the course, we have people walk it through in this really organized fashion that'll help them later, like save a bunch of money in legal fees and stuff because they already have it all organized. But those are the 4 steps that you're going to do. In the course, we talk about getting your mind right, getting your head right to do this. And that course, for anybody who's interested, is available for free if you join our online community, The Circle, where we help support and guide women through divorce and beyond. And that's free too. You just go to myconfidentdivorce.com and check it out. A lot of people have done it now. A lot of people are in The Circle getting support. And it's just wanting to put that out there because here's the thing, Mary, is some of those actions you lose the ability to do later on, and or they become a lot harder and more expensive. So we're trying to catch people before they ever file.
Interesting. You said 70% of women are the ones that file, but what about that 30% who get absolutely blindsided? Or within that 30%, there's that group of women who are absolutely blindsided. Things are going along swimmingly, or they probably know, it could be better, or didn't even know that there was that affair or something going on in the side. And then one day the spouse comes home and announces, this is what's going to happen. How does she prepare herself emotionally, mentally, to be able to say, okay, I've got a battle in front of me and I've got to show up my best self?
The problem is when that fight arrives at your doorstep, and I don't necessarily mean fight, but that problem arrives on your doorstep, you find out what you're made of, to be honest. I mean, it's about all the prep and all the development you've done to lead you to that moment. How do you react to really tough shit in your life? Someone has a bad medical diagnosis. You get fired at your job. You don't get the raise. How do you react to disappointment? How do you react to surprise information? You already know then kind of how your divorce is going to go. Do you blame other people? Do you have a victim mindset? Have you done the professional and personal growth yourself? Have you worked on your mindset? Have you become a person whose character you respect? Have you become clear that life is all about how you react to what happens to you, right? We can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we react. So I think that woman, the work she does to support that future her is the work right now that supports living a meaningful and robust life. It's continuing to be a student, continuing to learn, listening to podcasts just like this. And really, for me, there's a lot of things I wouldn't prefer to happen to me. I have a lot of things that I would prefer never to have to go through. And I now have the confidence, whatever it is, I'm going to handle it. Whatever comes at me, I'm going to be okay. Because I've done the work. I've now done the healing. That's a word that used to make me cringe in my divorce because people always kind of scold you to heal and never tell you what to do or how to do it. Healing is just like one little baby step at a time, getting better and not losing your shit. That's what it is. And now, let's say my husband, Drew, I'm remarried. So if Drew divorced me, that is not my preference. It's strongly not my preference. I find out he's got some girlfriend, some whole other family, God knows what, stole all our money, like all the worst things I could think of. Well, I'm going to have a choice to make, aren't I? And how I react to that. I can let it make me bitter or better. That's divorce too. It's just that it's worse because you're surprised. I think it's more likely that women might be surprised because, I think men think about this for so much longer, and they're probably less likely to do all the like I'm using quotes, nagging that we might do to try to get the guy to change so that it can be a more palatable relationship for us and continue to work out. This guy may just be like, but also I'd say, like, are we gonna own part of this? Like, if y'all haven't slept together in a year, and then you say I was blindsided by the divorce. Nah, no, you weren't. Men aren't gonna. That's just in general not happening. They're not gonna not get laid for a year. That's just, not that much. There's a problem. There's a big problem, and people are going to get their needs met. So I would probably first ask, like, was it truly a blindside? Same thing I would tell the guy. Like, and whatever. I don't do that in the lawyer. They're not asking me. But I'm saying if I was like their therapist or something, which I'm not at all. So this is just with a grain of salt or a handful of salt. But it's number one. And then number two, regardless, say that you ignored all the signs because you wanted to believe something else. Whatever. Okay. Here's this thing. Mm-hmm. And would you like to let it ruin the rest of your life? Because you sure can. You sure can become a miserable, angry, bitter gal who at every single party you ever go to talks about your divorce like it was yesterday. You can stay alone and sad and crying for the rest of your life. And you can be the one who points at all of them. Look at them doing this and this and this at Christmas. And he would never do that with me. And la, 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 la. You know more about his life than you do about, what's latest with Ben Affleck. Everything that's happening. Yeah. Or you can use it as a springboard and a platform to have a new experience. Like, well, like I say that a lot. It helps me. This is not my preference. This is not my preference. I do not like this. And yet I will proceed. This is not my preference. And yet I begin. So I just gift that to anybody else, anybody who wants. This is how I literally do it. This is not my preference. So you've stated that you don't like it. You don't want it. Okay. And yet it's the acceptance. And then we proceed. The action. Action is the antidote. So what's going to make you feel better is get moving, get doing something, start getting ready, get your paperwork together, start doing the things. Look, in that marriage, if he's that ready to walk out the door, I bet you there's parts of you've been denying in that marriage. I bet you've been being less to make him more comfortable. I bet you there are hobbies you put, all that. That's where we're going, sister. Let him just, like, the best revenge, and I don't believe in revenge, but the best revenge is to go on and be completely happy and wonderful and make a new life. Like, well, okay. You're like, if my husband tried to divorce me now, I'd be like, that is stupid. That is objectively a bad decision to divorce me. I have some things, but like in general, it's a good decision to be married to me, in my opinion. So if he's going to make a dumb decision, well, I guess you weren't the one, bud. I don't want to do that. It's sad. And there would be consequences.
Yeah.
But so are other things in life. And I'm not going to let anything ruin my life. Not happening. I didn't walk through hell and leave 3 kids. I didn't leave them behind, but in some ways, they weren't with me primarily. I didn't do that and put all of us through that to then live a shit life. No, ma'am, that's not happening to me. No matter. And that's the thing. If that divorce news can ruin your life, you've given too much power. You've given away your power to this man and to the marriage, because if that can ruin everything, then you're defining yourself in relation to everyone and everything else. Even if Drew Bell, bless his heart, he ain't doing this, but even if he was to try to divorce me, I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to be all the things that I didn't used to be that way, y'all. I earned this the hard way. I don't want it to happen to y'all. I earned this by being stripped down to like I describe it as being worse than the gum on the bottom of your shoe. My kids didn't live with me primarily at first. I paid child support. I had to beg to see my children every other weekend from Friday at 6 to Sunday at 6, and for dinner every other Tuesday for an hour and 15 minutes. That's it. In a month in the summer, kind of, it's complicated. That'll make you feel real shitty. And I did. And so I already made this decision. Now I chose to be the one to go. Okay. So that I was the leaver. So I think it's easier to be in that position. But I just decide, I want to have a good life. And to do that, I think the gift of the divorce for me ultimately was stripping me down to nothing. I had nothing left. And rock bottom, they say, is a really good foundation to build the rest of your life. You want to build your foundation on a rock, right? And I did. And what I did is I rebuilt an identity, an independent identity, not one that is derivative of everybody else. Because that's the thing. I think this is really the key for women is we build derivative identities. You ask a woman, who are you? She's going to tell you, mom, basketball, PTA mom, teacher, sister, wife, blah, blah. Everything she will tell you in general, 9 times out of 10, would be how she relates to others. And the thing is with divorce, the problem for women who do that, like I did, as mom, I wasn't a mom in the same way anymore, and I wasn't a wife anymore. So my identity was a house of cards, and we pulled 2 out, and the whole thing fell apart on me. I had no idea what to do with myself when I had an hour free. I'd never had an hour free as an adult, ever. It's like, what do I do with that? And it was like choking. And so what I rebuilt is, you ask me, who am I now? If we're having a really surfacey conversation, I might tell you I'm a law firm, all the things that I do. But who am I now? I am brave. I'm strong, I'm kind, I'm generous, I'm thoughtful, I'm a good friend, right? You can't take those away from me if you leave. You can't take those away from me if you quit, right? Those are me apart from you. And I think if women, I think this is really the key, could use this if a divorce would take you down to rock bottom. You created a derivative identity for yourself, and you put your power and deposited it in this relationship in a way that makes you vulnerable, which we have to do to some extent. We give into the marriage, but you can do that in a way, because I'm doing it, in a way that doesn't erase you from your own story. You don't have to write yourself out of your story to be married.
Oh, wow. So glad we're recording this, because you have some epic sage advice.
Oh, thanks.
Good.
I got it the hard way. I sound sometimes like, I'm just kind of a like preacher sort by nature. It's because I'm so passionate about this, because I think that most women, and this is what happens why I love us in our 40s and up. Oh man, give me a woman mid 40s, early 50s. Yes, ma'am. Because we're all getting a little sage. We're all getting a little wiser. We're all getting a little smarter. A little bit of, you know what? Fuck you energy. And I love it, because what's happening is that resentment and disappointment and the excuses that we've been pushing down for so long, they are like, no, ma'am, no more. And they're going to erupt. It's better. Look, wouldn't we all agree? It's better to get ahead of it and not turn into an erupting volcano that burns down your entire life, right? That's the better way. But look, if not, and you're here and the volcano's about to erupt, just give me some space. I'm going to clear the splash zone, but we're going. I would much rather see that. Look, I am pro-marriage. I just have not seen that many marriages that I think support 2 healthy, fully actualized individuals continuing to grow and develop alongside each other across a lifetime. There's the guy, the New York City divorce lawyer, Robert, I think Sexton is his name. I don't know if you people need to follow him if you don't. Man, he's good. He says if you're in a happy marriage, you've won the jackpot. Like if you support each other. And he talks about, I just thought this was so moving, how what you're really signing on to say is, I will witness your life. I will be there in the small and in the big, and I will witness, and I will not pull you back from, I will not withhold from you. I will witness your life. And like y'all listening, does the person you're with feel like a witness? You know what a witness does? They just see. They don't control. They don't get. They don't take. They don't stop. They don't start. They just say, like Mary, we're doing this on a recording where I could see her, has her hand on her heart, right? Like, does it make you feel seen and held in a space? And if not, number one, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you have to live for a while. You've had to live for a while in a way that feels so lonely and unseen and less and tired and sad. I was there. Mm. And I'm here to say, as someone who went through the other side in a really bad situation, my kids didn't even live with me. You probably heard that, and you're like, yeah, she must have been an alcoholic drug bitch. I wasn't. And to live through that and come out on the other side, I want that for you. And what you're ultimately saying is that you're willing to bet on yourself. And you're all you got. We were talking about those identities. Every single one of them can leave. 2 of my 3 children have told me they don't want to live with me anymore when they got bigger, even after they came back. I've been through it, y'all. I've been through it. One of them doesn't live with me at all, and I haven't seen him or had a conversation with him in years.
Mm.
And it's hard. But at the end of the day, you're all you got. You know what those lessons, okay, I could just sit down and cry and think about all day, every day. And some days are harder than others. But I'm all I got. And I had to learn that lesson that even these kids can turn on me. No matter what I've done, they don't know. They don't understand because I'm not going to tell them what I had to do. And I practice what I preach in that regard. And you learn, and y'all listen, y'all know people left. And a lot of y'all are scared to death because they left. What if they leave? You'd rather stay in a shit marriage just so you don't get left again. That's bullshit. So long as you don't leave you. When you stay in that marriage, you abandon yourself. You leave you. And I don't think that everybody else gets that from us. I'm not giving it. I'm never giving it again. I'm not, to please everybody else, going to abandon me again. Because this gal, she got me through some rough shit. And everybody listening, same. If you gave birth, Lord, we made it through that. And then we're dealing with some jerk telling us how to load the dishwasher, Come on. So I just say all that as an encouragement, especially as this aligns with maybe what you're going through physically and hormones and all of that. I think you got to be careful and have sound counsel, listening to shows like Mary's Show and therapist if you can afford it, etc., and bounce these feelings and thoughts you may be having. Because what you don't want to do is make a permanent choice with a permanent solution to what could be a temporary problem. Like, I would suggest, if you're thinking maybe you need to get divorced and you're between, 40 and 60 and you haven't gotten your hormones checked and you haven't been to some sort of a functional medicine practitioner of some sort, you better hold the phone. Wait a minute. Let's go make sure that, the big 3 are not at play here, right? That we're not missing, like me, testosterone. Like that was low. My thyroid is all jacked up. Like, I've been on this journey for a while, even though I'm only 42. I knew. I would recommend that you make sure that's done first, that you feel stable enough in your body, that you trust your decision making, and that you're not acting in an activate. This is like, I swear, it's like that. I just say all the time the things I have to learn myself, but literally today, I was talking to a friend who just found out he needs to get divorced. A situation happened. And I said, do nothing from activation. Why are you doing something today? Because you've been talking about this for a long time. And yes, this thing happened. And okay, what is the urgency, right? Don't do anything when you're activated. I mean, positive or negative. I don't necessarily do things when I'm activated in anger. I know better. If I'm mad or whatever, I'm not going to go find the person and let him have it. I've learned that lesson. However, the lesson I get to learn every single day, all the time, because I'm blockheaded, is don't do things in activation when I'm excited. Because that's where I get it, is I get ahead of myself and get excited and act. Yeah. So with yourself, if you're activated and not just like kind of stable, boring you, like, and I'm not saying you're boring, but you know what I mean? That version of us is just like, cool. Like, no, somebody's, how you doing? I'm doing fine. Like, things are going okay. Hopefully you can do it from that place where you can be rational and logical and have the support of professionals and women around you and counselors and medical providers and all the whole gamut of things that y'all talk about. Because what you just don't want to rush into this and then later be like, oopsie doopsie, I really just needed some estrogen. Sorry. Yeah. I don't think women do that too much, to be honest, but I think it's worth thinking.
Well, there's a few components that you mentioned. And one, I mean, we've been talking about what to do when the marriage is dissolving. But there's also opportunities and clues, libido, sex life.
Yep.
The romance, the sexual arousal, that is a huge bearing on a woman's health when she's going through
Mm.
menopause. And we've addressed this in other episodes, talking about the role that even testosterone plays in libido and self-confidence. And it behooves a woman to take agency first with her doctor, I would say, to get those things in order because of her self-worth and self-respect, that it's her body and she needs to get those things checked to get that balance in order. Because, let's say, face it, when we don't have that balance in order, irrational thought, mood, even depression, suicidal rates, they climb up. So it's about taking care. I guess you could say triage the hormones first, and then examine the relationship, because there could be that beautiful opportunity to salvage a relationship that's only gone awry because of the disruption the hormone change have on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was a really good point that you made, that one of the pitfalls that we could avoid is maybe taking that little self check where we are in our health journey, and then down regulating the nervous system,
Hmm.
not taking action out of activation, taking action when we have all of those ducks in a row,
Yeah.
even with the massively swimming feet
Yeah.
underneath the surface.
That's
We
right.
are,
That's right. And we've done that before in life. It's really just a skill we've just not really applied for our own benefit or something, right? It's just
yeah,
like a different way of thinking. And women just, we men are way better at us in general at this. They're going to have their stuff together, strategic thinking, logic, right? And that's pretty stereotypical. I'm not saying all the time, but generally speaking, it's the women who kind of go in like, "Ooh, I hope it all goes okay." Lord.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And community, which you have built so beautifully. Women do better in community when we
Yeah.
have those lived experience and we can pass it on. And again, and I think I've shared this analogy in previous podcasts, I still visualize the circles of women that would come together around the fire with whatever it is, their tinctures that they were making, their crafts, their
Hmm.
wisdom, their song, their dance. And they gathered around, huddled around those in need, sharing that wisdom. But wisdom
Mm.
comes from lived experience. Hannah, you are just full of amazing wisdom, great analogies, and I love your quotes. And with that Texan drawl, you need to write a book and then become your own audio narrator on audiobooks.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
just
working on it.
it's
I've got the title and we've got it going. So
great.
yes, and I do plan to do the audio. So we'll have to update you
Voice is
whenever
like
that
honey.
happens. Oh, thank you. That's so
It
sweet to
really is.
say.
I've just enjoyed. I haven't been able to get a word in edgewise, but nor did I want to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, I know. I'm like,
No,
somebody's gonna
no,
get me
no.
for talking too much. Oh.
Just every time I was about to, and you've answered that question. It was beautiful. I just get the bookends, right? The little sandwich. You were the peanut butter and jelly in between.
Ooh, yum. I love peanut butter and
And
jelly.
it's a beautiful staple.
Yeah.
When everything's going to shit, just, a couple of pieces of warm bread and
I
some
was
of the,
never, it's like I say, this is one of my favorite. You want a life pro tip? I never saw anybody sad when they're eating popcorn. Do you ever see anybody eating some popcorn and they're just sad? No, you haven't. So it's one of those things like you're feeling sad. Let's pop some popcorn. So I'm just going to give you that piece of advice as you listen to this or whatever's coming up. When in doubt, peanut butter and jelly is what made me think of it. But for me, it's the popcorn. Nobody was ever sad eating a big old thing of popcorn. Like
yeah,
they're
it's
not
true.
crying in movies eating popcorn.
This is true. Or because I push lifting heavy. You're never sad when you're bench pressing your own
Ooh,
weight. You're kind of
that's
like,
true.
oh, I'm such a powerful person.
Yeah.
Hannah, again, tell everybody about your strategy, where they can find it, all the deets where we can start following you.
Yeah. Oh, please do. We're just collecting women together. I was thinking about, I wish there was a real life version of that circle in IRL that I could go to every Tuesday night. And the women, And that's sort of what we are trying to do. It takes all of us. It's a co-creation to build the circles with the My Confident Life. Like, we're working on building a confident life. And one of the ways to do that is through divorce if you're in a situation that no longer serves you. So you can just go to myconfidentdivorce.com, get into the circle. You can do the course. It's all free, y'all. We're just out there putting the message out, trying to help everyone. People are at it every day, doing the course every day. And legit, when I tell the attorneys who work with me that we are, whenever they've seen the course, like, if all of our clients did this, they would save so much money. I'm like, I know, I'm trying to tell everybody. So do
good.
that. It helps you get organized. And then you can follow us on socials at just my name, Hannah Hembree Bell, Hembree, and would love just y'all to follow and comment and share your stories. The circle is a way we can kind of do that off the main stage of all the Instagrams and TikToks and whatever, and meet in there and gas around the fire. I mean, someday we'll be doing real life stuff, real life meetups of the circles, so we can come in and get started there. I would love to have y'all. Mary, you should join. You should come over there. It's not just about divorce. It's just women who maybe have some of that stuff in common.
Beautiful. I love
And
it.
the experiences that we can share together.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you at your TEDx talk and having you on the show when that book comes out. I want to be the first
Awesome.
one.
Awesome. From your lips to God's ears, we've got TEDx apps out.
Yeah.
So I hope so. I hope
We're gonna make it
you're
happen.
catching the thread. I'm making a video for one of them tomorrow morning. So I hope so.
I know your energy just exudes it. I know you're larger than life. You need a stage. So good.
Thanks. I received
So
that.
good.
I received that. I just try to go back and tell them, tell everybody, you don't have to live a life that medium sucks. It doesn't. You don't just like this is it. There is no dress rehearsal. You get to enjoy this experience in this body, in this planet, in a time when Oprah and ChatGPT exist at once. Are you kidding me? And popcorn and peanut butter jelly sandwiches and Utah and Bryce Canyon. Like, y'all, we are living at the best time to be alive. And to be a woman, we can get loans and credit cards in our names. We can get divorced.
Yeah.
If we don't want to be with that asshole anymore, we can walk out the door and never come back. Amen.
We get to
Thank
vote.
you. Yes,
We
and
get
vote.
to vote and drive cars.
I know. It is, but I think sometimes we get so caught up in our own stuff that we lose sight of that. So thanks for having me, Mary. I'd love to have all of us. And oh my God, we started a podcast, Not Saving It for Later. And it's in our first season. We've already scheduled a bunch of the guests for season 2, where we talk about conversations just like this. If you enjoyed this conversation, actually, we're talking with someone who does some functional medicine about midlife and stuff like that on one of them coming up. So people can follow along there everywhere they listen to their podcasts.
Okay, give us the title one more time of that podcast.
Not Saving It for Later.
Not Saving It for Later. I'm going to go follow right now.
Yes. Okay, Mary. Good. All right. We'll see you in there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Hannah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
This conversation with Hannah was a masterclass in resilience, in self-leadership, and the power of lived experience. And one of the biggest things that struck me is how Hannah turned her mess into her message. She didn't just survive a tough divorce. She used it as a springboard to help other women find their footing and their voice during one of life's most disruptive transitions. Hannah's story is raw. It's relatable. She talked about marrying young, raising babies, while still growing up herself, and then realizing, sometimes in those quiet moments, that she was living a dress rehearsal instead of her real life. But it was her real life. And that phrase hit me. Later is a lie. No waiting for life to start. This is it. No dress rehearsal. I'm thinking about the Tragically Hip song. No dress rehearsal. Anyways, she described the emotional tug of war that so many women face, weighing the cost of leaving against the cost of staying. And for years, we might put up with things. But as Hannah so brilliantly put it, every change that ever happened started with some woman getting tired of her own BS. And when the give a dang breaks, that's when real change happens. Hannah, she offered, just love her, She offered practical, memorable advice, like keeping a grocery list note on your phone to secretly track relationship patterns so that you can start to see these trends. And then, of course, start with the end in mind. Craft your plan and gather your evidence before making any moves. I love that. Hope is not a strategy, she said. And that's a mantra worth repeating. Hope is not a strategy. Action is, but only when we've downregulated our nervous system. Don't act when activated. We also dove into the unique power shift that happens in midlife. And just as I called it, when estrogen leaves the body, so does the tolerance for bullshit. And that's when women stop over-functioning for everyone else's comfort and start reclaiming their own truth. And perhaps the most powerful lesson was about identity. Hannah warned against building a derivative identity, which is defining ourselves only as a wife or a mom or a caregiver or whatever function we play rather than the person we are. She reminded us too that if a divorce can ruin your life, you've given away too much power. Wow, so impactful. But instead, she champions rebuilding on rock bottom because that's what she did. It truly helps you find out who you are at the core. Things like I am brave, I am strong, I am kind. Those are great takeaways for anyone in any situation in life listening to this conversation. I love Hannah's accent and her energy and humor. It was infectious. Nobody was ever sad eating popcorn. I love that. Happiness is infectious. This episode truly was a rally cry for women to bet on themselves, to stop waiting for permission, and to remember you don't have to live a life where you're taking the back seat. You are your destiny. Advocate, take agency, whether it's talking to your boss, your GP, or your partner. Now, I'm not advocating for separation and divorce. Far from it. I am probably one of the most happily married people on this planet, the kind that Hallmark writes anniversary cards for. But honestly, one of the best things I feel as a menopause doula that we can do to get ourselves in order is to have our health checked, lab tests, hormone levels, and then make those lifestyle protocol changes where you can be back in control so that we can think clearly from a place of safety. Healing happens at the speed of safety. To connect with Hannah at our law firm, visit hembreebell.com. That's HEMBREE Bell. It's in the show notes. And get on her course in her community at myconfidentdivorce.com. When you land on that page, sign up today. It is free. Not only that, you're joining a community of women who are going through similar experiences. Whether getting divorced or separated, just being in community is so important. And it's one of the pillars of my 5-pillar step towards menopause intelligence. And that is nutrition, movement, sleep management, stress reduction, and community. Women do better when we're in it together. If this episode inspired you, share it with a friend, family member, a colleague, and let's keep disrupting the conversation. If today's insights resonated with you, I'd love for you to be a part of our growing community of menopause disruptors. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening right now. And if you know someone who can benefit from these conversations, please share this episode. Sometimes a simple act of sharing can be the first step in someone's healing journey. And hey, if you're ready to take the next step in your menopause journey, I'm here to support you. You can find all my services, including my comprehensive menopause intelligence digital course, one-on-one coaching programs, and workplace education services at mlcoaching.com. It's in the show notes. Want to stay connected and get regular doses of menopause wisdom? Follow me on Instagram at Menopause Disruptor Podcast, where I share tips, insights, and real conversations about navigating this transformative phase of life. Let's continue to disrupt this menopause conversation together. Remember, midlife should be the best life, and it will be. Namaste.